All right, let's call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Showalter.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Edlin.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment tonight? No. Okay, well, let's move on to presentations and proclamations. We have a couple of them tonight, starting with a proclamation regarding the 100th anniversary of the Lutheran Church. Does anybody wish to say anything to that before I read the proclamation? Okay. Okay, whereas the year 2022 marks the 100th anniversary of Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Goodland, Kansas, which was and continues to be dedicated to the service of God and humanity. And whereas we give pause, honor, and praise this day for the deep and abiding commitment of those who in faith began this work, and for all those who have given so unselfishly during these many years to help the work grow and thrive and provide valuable human services where the need was great. And whereas the entire community has benefited from the charity and influence this church has exerted through the years, and the many facets of its outreach and practical assistance to the needy. And whereas it is a pleasure to extend this expression of our esteem and best wishes to the members of this congregation on the memorable occasion of this 100th anniversary. Now therefore I, Aaron Thompson, Mayor of the City of Goodland, Kansas, urge all citizens of Goodland to join together in recognition and appreciation for the members, both past and present, of the congregation of Emmanuel Lutheran Church, and for their commitment to Christian contributions to our entire extended community. In official recognition whereof, I hereby affix my signature this third day of October 2022. All right. Then we also have another proclamation for Public Power Week for October 2nd through 8th, 2022. Whereas we, the citizens of Goodland, place a high value on local choice over community services and therefore have chosen to operate a community-owned, not-for-profit electric utility, and as customers and owners of our electric, have a direct say in utility operations and policies. Whereas City of Goodland provides our homes, businesses, schools, and social service to local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and safe electricity, employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at not-for-profit rates. Whereas the City of Goodland is a valuable community asset that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. Whereas the City of Goodland is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place to live and work, and contributes to protecting the global environment. Now, therefore, I, Aaron Thompson, Mayor of the City of Goodland, hereby proclaim the week of October 2nd through the 8th as Public Power Week in Goodland, and I urge all citizens to recognize the people behind public power of the City of Goodland for their contributions to the community and to educate customers, policymakers, and employees on the benefits of public power. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Goodland, Kansas to be affixed this third day of October 2022. Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We have A, the 9/19/22 Commission meeting minutes. B, appropriation ordinances 2022-19, 2022-19A, and 2022-P19. Any questions, comments, or concerns on those this week?
I move to approve the consent agenda items A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
I'll second that.
a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes. Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to ordinances and resolutions, starting with A, Ordinance 1759, adopting the 2018 International Mechanical Code. Good evening.
Back the 1st of August, kind of presented a little bit that to you, minor changes we had had. But the Construction Board of Trade and Appeals, I would like to recommend to you, the City Commission, the adoption of the 2018 International Mechanical Code Book. The 2018 IMC book would update and replace the previous 1994 Uniform Mechanical Code Book. The last update on the mechanical code was 24 years ago, and Cale, which is on the board, mechanical master, stated that there has been significant changes and advancements in the design and technologies since the last update, and he is excited to have the opportunity to help see the City of Goodland improve our codes to go along with the improved technology. In saying all that, does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns on any of the changes?
So on the section regarding the duct length, the flexible duct, it says when it changes to that, it's not limited.
Correct.
It is due to better technology that we have today.
Yes, yeah.
So what would happen if somebody wanted to go in with, say, some older duct and put that in that maybe isn't necessarily as improved as newer stuff and wanted to put an extensive amount of that duct work in?
Yeah, in the book, it states, depending on the equipment, the efficiency, not BTUs, but the amount of power putting out.
Or depending
So
on the
they can-
rating,
What's that?
basically depending on the rating of the equipment.
Yeah.
And what can and can't be used.
I think before it was like a 6 foot. That was the maximum.
That was the only question I had. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I would entertain.
I move to approve ordinance 1759.
A motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Redmond,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Before you run off real quick, so where does that put us regarding our codes now? Our code.
Let's see, we've got the 2018 plumbing, 2018 mechanical, and we got 2020 electrical, and we're currently working on the 2018 existing building code. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, we'll move on to B, Ordinance 1760, regarding the cemetery hours. Kent, if you want to speak to that.
Members of the commission, this last cemetery board meeting, they had a recommendation that was approved at their board to the city commission to make some changes regarding the hours that are in the city code for the cemetery, and then also had one change regarding violations, to change the word from shall be charged to may be charged, to give a little bit more flexibility to the officers enforcing the codes at the cemetery. And last meeting, there was a presentation by Dick Hayden with the cemetery board, and also Jason Earhart, the assistant police chief, regarding those changes. And the commission at that time recommended staff to draft an ordinance to make those changes in the city code, and that's what's presented to you tonight.
Anybody have any questions? Comments? I understand the thought process and the reasoning behind, and I can understand the changing of the wording regarding the trespassing. I'm curious as to why it was deemed necessary or thought best to change it from set hours to actual sunset to sunrise. I feel like, wouldn't that be more difficult legally speaking to kind of adhere to than actual set times?
Well, the discussion centered around that, since there's no longer gates that are shut every single day at the cemetery, that the time period between the former time period, or the time period right now until it's changed, is 8 to 5 p.m. And there was a number of times, obviously during the summer, you know, there's time period between 5 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. during the middle of summer. And it got to be more of a more problematic to enforce the 8 to 5 p.m. because you're kicking people out as soon as at 5 p.m. And or it obviously wasn't enforced every day. We don't have a police officer set aside in the evenings every single day, so it became it creates more questions than it answered. And that's kind of where the discussion centered on. I don't know if Police Chief Hayes has anything else to add to that part of the discussion regarding it, because I know it came to his attention as well.
Yeah, what they said is with the time changes, your, 5 o'clock, when the time change is starting to get dark, whereas, like you said, in the summer it's late 30. So we thought about, there's a lot of people that don't get off work until 5 o'clock. So are we going to restrict them from bringing flowers, or from, if you make one concession for one person, you have to do it for all. So that's why we came up with the dusk, or dark, because we didn't want to restrict people from going out there when they get off work at 5 o'clock.
But won't that, I mean, that'll work well in the summertime, when it doesn't get dark till late in the evening. But there's a couple hours in the middle of winter where it's dark before 5 o'clock. So aren't we restricting those people in the winter time to be able to go out to the cemetery after work or after hours if we change it to sunset?
There was some discussion regarding that, but it really, at that point, it becomes a very easy denominator to say, if it's light out, you're welcome to visit the cemetery. If it's not light, there's not additional artificial light, there's very minimal artificial lighting at the cemetery as it is. And especially if there's a problem by anybody visiting the cemetery, it's much easier for them to say to them, the cemetery's closed, when it's enforced. So that was about the extent of the discussion regarding it. And it's not trying to be like when we had the gates. Well, we're closing the gates now, you gotta leave now. It's more, hey, if it's light out, it's okay to visit. And if it's dark, there's really not a good reason to be here at that time. And it's upon the officer's discretion regarding it. We're not trying to, exclude anyone, but then we understand that during the middle of winter, it may be difficult for someone to get there before it's dusk. But that's a very limited time period, is what the discussion centered on at the cemetery board.
Any other questions?
I move that we approve ordinance 1760.
I have a motion by Commissioner Howard.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Commissioner Showalter. Any further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to formal action, starting with A, regarding bids for the demolition and removal of 1514 Caldwell. I'm going to have Jeff come back up.
Evening, Dan. I'm just kind of inform you guys that the last, we had a hearing on the 1514. Nobody, showed up, so went ahead and we got bids ready, I think, to send out to 3 of our contractors. So I think they're due no later than October 12th or 11th, so we'll see where we come with that on that process.
Whatever bids we'll receive, we'll present it at next meeting for approval. So,
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
do you have any concerns, staff sending that out? Just wanted to make sure from
No.
No, sir.
the commission.
Okay, we'll move on to B, the approval for the home rehab grant application for Dakota Nicholson.
This application was submitted by Dakota Nicholson, requesting funds from the home rehab program. We set aside, it's a fairly small amount, but we set aside an amount that's available to assist in home rehabilitation for different properties. Dakota is here this evening. He can answer any questions regarding the project that you may have. It's regarding a property over on West 12th Street, 515, right?
Correct.
West 12th Street. And he came with the application, although there was a couple additional documents that we needed regarding it. And he has supplied those. He's completed the entire, all the documents requested. So, Dakota, you might describe what's the project that you're working on with the property?
Currently, the project I'm working on is a foundation repair. I had a section of the house that had clay bricks and the mortar and bricks just crumbled. So I'm currently lifting the house and redoing that section of the foundation.
The project application met all the criteria as set forth by the city commission and staff. This was set up a couple of years ago, and it's been carried forward since that time. And we do have funds available in the program.
All right, well, thank you for your willingness to take the time and effort to improve your property. First of all, that is the whole purpose of this grant process, is to help people improve their properties. So, and also thank you for the great drawing that you sent in of exactly kind of what you're doing. That's nice to see. But does anybody have any questions for Dakota? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter for the approval of the home rehab grant application for Dakota Nicholson.
I'll second.
And a second by everybody, apparently. We'll give this one to Ann. Second by Ann. Commissioner Myers? Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's move on to 8, discussion items. Personnel manual amendments.
Staff has been looking at some, and they're really not major sections of the personnel manual, but since the personnel manual itself is approved by the city commission, there's been 3 different issues that have been brought up that we'd like to make changes or request changes to the personnel manual. And one is, and it's regarding how people who are members of or are volunteers for the fire department, how they respond to calls for service and how it affects while they're working. And it's basically during work hours. How does that occur? We've kind of had a variety of either informal, mainly informal policies with our different departments regarding how firefighters respond, since they're full-time employees. And we want to encourage that to continue to happen because our fire department, even though it's now a merged fire department between city and county, still needs people power. And one of the places that gets people power is, and we certainly want it, enough people to respond when my house is on fire, which is not going to be on fire, but or someone else's house is on fire or any other type of situation. We certainly want them to respond, but there's a organized way that that should happen. And what's the notifications and what is the time period and how it works with the time. And right now we had a discussion about 2 hours. They can respond, but anything more than 2 hours, then it becomes out of leave. Whatever leave they have available to be able to use. But the initial response, that's what it's been so far, is that it's still counted as their work time. They're just helping out in another part of the city's organization. Well, since it's a merged organization, it's a little bit different, but we still want to encourage that to happen so that they're able to respond when need to. So that's one of the changes that will be discussed. Another one is fitness for duty. We've had situations come up. We have a fitness for duty evaluation, mainly as a starting point for work comp. When someone is hired, we have a job description given to a physical therapist, and they put them through a fitness for duty evaluation and give, basically a starting point for us. Well, as situations come up, there may be a need to ask an employee to take one again if it's because of different, whether on duty or off duty, injuries or sicknesses that develop. And then it comes to a situation, well, what is your current status? Are you able to do the job? And how much of the job are you able to do? And what's the meaningful way to be able to do that? And what's an unbiased way to be able to do that? And we were told by when we talked about it with our regular legal advice that we use for employment matters, they say you should have it as part of your personnel manual. So it's not regarding a specific situation, that it's a regular situation that you can go to if need be. So, and we don't currently have it in the personnel manual. So it's to set up a procedure that's a standardized procedure about how to handle things like that. And it's not specific to any one individual. The third thing is regarding shift work, regarding our police officers, and how do we recognize holidays. There's a few holidays every year that don't happen on, or they happen on a variety of days, and sometimes they happen on weekends. And then for the office workers, the holiday is recognized on the Friday or the Monday. Well, for shift officers, for the police officers, is their holiday time, if they're going to be working that holiday, is that recognized on the day we're closed, the rest of the city is closed, or on the day that it actually is? And since they're working the day that it actually is, on the weekend, that's when it should be recognized. So we need to make that clarification within our personnel manual about when the holiday is recognized and how it works for different departments. And it isn't currently stated that way. So those are the three different things we're going to recommend in a personnel manual change for you at hopefully next meeting. And just wondering if you have any initial feedback, or that just gives you an idea so you're not surprised when we present the formal item for you to approve.
Yeah, I feel like those all seem like very reasonable things to be addressed. Curious to see what all answers you come up with for each of those things, and then see if we all agree with you come up with. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
That's about all I had.
All right. Well, then let's move on to reports then, starting with our city manager, Kent.
The manager memo is included in your packet. There's a couple other things, will just be really short and light for this meeting. The transportation van, we currently have a van that I believe is 90% of the way there to being offered to being used by the city of Goodland. We still have a title to obtain from the current agency. But it'll be at the end of this week, we'll be going to Wathena, Kansas, in the far northeast corner of the state. It's about as northeast as you can get in the state and still be in Kansas. So that's where we'll pick up the replacement transportation van. And one of our employees will drive it back. And after it's serviced and ready to go, then we'll be able to return the van that we're currently borrowing from Thomas County. And in that arrangement that we've had with Thomas County. And thank them for allowing us to use their van, because it's been used quite a bit over the last month and a half while we've not had a van. So it's worked out real well. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Mary?
Got it.
Okay.
Other than the settlement, the 80% of the settlement that we received on the old van will go back to the state of Kansas.
But we haven't been paid on that settlement yet, have we?
We got it today.
Oh, of course, that, we got it today. So on your next accounts payable run, there'll be a payment to the Kansas Department of Transportation for 80% of that settlement check, so. Or I'm assuming that will be able to be accomplished, so.
Well, I'm just glad to know that we found a new permanent vehicle. That's good, so.
It is handicap accessible, and it has, the first van that we were offered had, I don't know, 60,000 miles on it or so, and this one that we're being offered has like less than 10,000 miles or something like that. So it's
19.
a 2019 model, so it was even better than the first one that we had located. So
How many
Good.
passenger is it?
It can hold 2 chairs at a time. And then if it has a chair in it, a wheelchair in it, there's room for 2 to 3 passengers in the back, which we looked at the layout of it and it fits. I mean, they don't really typically have more than 2 or 3 patrons at a time. So it would fit our need.
So it's a smaller model than what the last one we used. So, but it should serve our purposes very well.
Good.
And we'll be continuing to talk with the Kansas Department of Transportation about how to, as this has pointed out to us, at some point in the near future, we should make every effort to obtain a backup van, so that we're a little bit more prepared for when these things happen, if possible. So, the other couple things, the street department finished the alley, although they haven't opened it up as yet, but the alley near the post office, unless it was open today, Canton. Thursday. So the alley adjacent to the post office, if you ever drop off mail in the alley drop off there, that will be back open on Thursday. So, and I think people will really appreciate the alley being done. So, And then I'll ask, and I didn't tell him beforehand, but I'll ask Neil for an update because Brand Safeway did come by today and make arrangements to drop off their equipment at the wastewater treatment plant. But I don't know if you had other discussions about the timing or schedule of when they will do their work at the wastewater treatment plant.
He said that, some equipment will be dropped off. The media will be dropped off late this week, and they should be starting into this week or first part of next week, saying less than that, and he said they'll be working 7 days a week until it's completed. So they're not taking any time off, they'll be out there sun up till sunset, and then if they can go past that, they'll do that too. Until it's completed, then we'll do a file on everything they've done, and he said it'll even be down to ambient temperature, wind, humidity, everything, every step that they do. So if there's ever any questions, we can go back and look at what they've done, and it'll all be on the file.
Good. Good deal.
He said 2 to 3 weeks.
They're concerned about making sure that this project gets done before any winter weather arrives. So they are moving with haste to get the project done. And I'm sure Neil and the rest of the employees in that department are ready to get that filled back up. So, and do you have an estimate on the steel up at top?
So I haven't told him.
Okay.
I don't have an email by morning, we're gonna call and hope it's on.
There's a set of steel plates at the very top that allows it to flow over from one side to the other. And it's jagged at the top. But the abrasive coating, they wanted that removed in order to do the painting behind it anyway. And it was very pockmarked and very riddled. Most of it needed to be replaced anyway. And we've ordered that. It's en route. Well, it's not really en route. It's at some location, getting prepared, and then it'll be en route to our location. So, but we don't know the schedule of that at this point. So that's the other item. And then hopefully we can put the wastewater treatment plant back together and get it back operating, and we will have no more problems for a while at the wastewater treatment plant. So, and that's the bigger projects at this point. Both the housing grant has been submitted as well as the cost share grant for Caldwell has been submitted. So obviously haven't heard anything regarding those at this point. And all other operations are proceeding apace. So. Next weekend, I am heading to the League of Kansas Municipalities Conference. And I'll actually be taking our employees, since it's over on that side of the state anyway, going to Kansas City. I'll just head over on Friday and drop the employee off to drive the van back and then just head to the conference. But I'll be not available at Friday or Monday because of the conference in Kansas City. So, and then the police chief Hayes, I think, has one additional thing. I don't know how to introduce this. So you might want to describe this.
Come on up.
Good evening, just to be really quick. So, as you may or may not know, Zach and the dog have completed their training. They're now certified. We've already started. We did a sniff at the college. And so what I wanted to do is invite each and every one of you Thursday around 5:30ish for a demonstration on kind of what he learned and let's just say his abilities. We did kind of a dry run the other night, and it was very impressive to me. So Like I said, if you want to come out Thursday evening, we're going to do a demonstration. It would be just for y'all, so
At the station.
yes, at the PD. And if any one of you would want to get in a suit, you're more than welcome to do that. We'll get you suited up and see what happens.
Sounds fun.
It's a blast. But yeah, so if y'all come out, I'd really like y'all to, just to kind of see, you know, what his training did and the difference. And I know when we first came up, you had the same concerns as I did. I don't have those concerns anymore. He is very well disciplined, just from Zach working with him, the trainers working with him. I mean, he amazed me. So I would like y'all to come out and look at that and see that it is an investment and not just a cost. So
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
plan on being there. Thank you. All right, anything else?
That's it.
Anybody have any questions for city manager? I have, it's not really a question, it's maybe if you can get a broad explanation. I know this comes up from time to time when it comes up on the city bill. The cost adjustment this month was quite high regarding the electric utility, and I know people always kind of have questions about what exactly that is. So I don't know if maybe we can kind of give a good explanation of what that cost adjustment is, why it is, the amount that it is, if you know that, or
Well, I won't be able to say that without the spreadsheets in front of me, but it's basically, and it's been used for years. This isn't something that's new.
Mhm.
What is new is that there's higher costs right now for purchasing power. And it's actually much higher than it's been for many years. Natural gas until recently was the whole time during this power purchase that's shown on your bill currently. And one thing you gotta remember is that the bill, like people just received, or I just received over the weekend, those meters are read at the beginning of September. And it's actually power purchased, during August.
Mhm.
So it's actually a month and a half, and by the time they pay, it's usually 2 months behind when they actually, people may look at the current conditions, but when it was in August, natural gas was over $8 MCF or a BTU, which is really high for the summer. You might see that during the winter, but it's really high for the summer. Sunflower, which purchases the power from the Southwest Power Pool, they go on a daily basis and purchase power. And there's different segments of that power. You can purchase wind or solar or natural gas or coal from the plant that's next to Holcomb. And that's kind of all thrown in the mix. And then there's a pricing for each of those blocks of power. What Sunflower has purchased that power for, they pass on to their customers, where we purchase the vast majority of our power. And that OCA is basically trying to just calculate what those costs were that are passed to us. We really don't make any money on it. That power that's been purchased from the Southwest Power Pool, that's what we, in the OCA, put on our utility bills in order to pay that back. So, and I would expect, the problem is natural gas has fallen a bit now to 7, and now it's in the 6s. That's where the vast majority of the power comes from. People think, well, wind and solar is great, but the wind doesn't blow all the time, and the solar is only good for a few hours a day. It still doesn't meet the majority of the power needs of Kansans, or the Southwest Power Pool, which is much larger than Kansas. It's basically the plain state. when we, Sunflower through Prairie Land gives us the bill for all the power that's been delivered to the city of Goodland. We turn that around and calculate it, and that's the OCA, the optional, or it's not optional, what is it called? Operational. Sorry, I knew I said the wrong word. Operational cost adjustment. So that's what it's trying to do, is have a structure in there so that as the costs vary for the power purchased, that is reflected in people's bills, because obviously we don't have an extra pot of money to pay. Well, that's the city's power bill. They should just have to pay it as if the city's a separate entity. Unfortunately, it's not. It's you, I, everybody else that are customers that have accessed that power, the cost of that power, and we have to pay for that. There may be a 1 month time delay in that the power you used, and then you end up paying for it a little bit later after the power meter readings are read, but that's what it is. And the expectation is, and that's a cautionary note, the expectation is that over the winter, gas is going to go up much higher. So now you use less electricity in the winter. And we also have the, generally you use more of your gas to heat your house than your electricity in the winter. But the per unit cost will probably end up higher in the winter for your electricity. And I want to hear, the Black Hills has their Citizens Advisory Council meeting this Thursday. I think you guys all received an invitation for it. And hear what their expectations are for the winter. And one, regarding supplies, and then two, regarding the cost of it. But I hear all sorts of things. I'd like to hear from them, since they're closer to the issue, what their expectations are over the winter. So, wish I had a rosier explanation of the whole thing, but hopefully that gives some explanation to the people asking the questions.
So I picture it as basically just kind of like a surcharge, basically, for the increased cost to create the power that we then use,
Yes.
is what it is. And they just pass that charge on to us, and we pass it on down to the user. I think some of the confusion comes in as to, it's hard to know exactly what that is on the bill, just the way it's, written out on the bill, the description. I think most people don't know what that, they just see a fuel cost adjustment or however it's written on there. I think there's a lot of confusion as to what fuel, what adjustment, what are we. So I just want to try to get some clarification out there for people, so that as they look at their bill, or they haven't yet, it was about 20% of the electric cost was an additional fuel charge this month, and that's pretty significant. So people definitely are noticing that, but that's what it is. Yeah.
And I agree that just having the title on the bills, fuel cost adjustment, probably creates a little bit more confusion than it's necessary. And to be able to title it or have a little explanation on there, we'll look at that as staff and see if we can have it a little bit easier to understand. But do want to make the point that the city's not making money off of it. It's just paying the bill.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, well, let's move on to the city commissioner reports. We'll start down here on my right with Commissioner Showalter.
No report.
Okay, Commissioner Myers,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Howard,
Nothing here either.
Commissioner Redland,
I just want to say thanks to Jaleesa and the SECD. I thought we had a really, really good Flatlanders Festival. There's a lot more vendors than normally, or than we normally see, and I thought there were a lot more people as well. So I just want to say that I think it was a big success, and congratulations to them. That it was good to see that.
Yep, I agree. I felt like it was a very, very good weekend. I think the Friday night festivity went very well, and then Saturday was very good as well. So, all right, I have nothing more to add. So on that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.